Soon.
It says live on mine now.
There we go. Right, so the broadcast should be live, people. Hopefully, it says live on the thingamajigger. So everybody, that's Sam back once again, and welcome to the Mobile World Congress wrap-up, or roundup, as Mr. Gadgets Boys likes to call it. Hopefully you know me. If not, then you should. I'm Sam Pullen, Sam, Mr. Pullen, Lord, whatever you want to call me. And we're going to talk about our favourite things about MWC, the worst things about MWC, and just little tidbits here and there. So I'm going to go through person by person. So we'll start by Dan. If you want to introduce yourself, who are you, etc.
Yeah, I'm Dan. I'm from Cool Smartphone, and I'm at MWC, so I'm tired, but this should be fun.
And Nirav, you're next.
Hey guys, I'm Nirav. I run UK Mobile Review, and yeah, we're in Barcelona for MWC.
And Mr. Tommy Gadgets Boy.
What's going on, people? It's Gadgets Boy, and yeah, as the name suggests, I run a website called gadgetsboy.co.uk and a YouTube channel as well. But yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about MWC.
Right then, people. So we have a list of things we're going to be talking about. Well, not a list as such, is kind of like our favourite things about MWC, etc. So we're going to go through it one by one. So first of all, we're going to talk about our favourite things. And again, we're going to go backwards in order now. So we're going to start with Tommy, the Gadgets Boy. What was the favourite thing that you saw at MWC that kind of sparked your interest?
I liked the Huawei MediaPad X1, the 7-inch one.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm a big fan of the perfect size of a tablet kind of thing. So iPad Air's too big. Nexus 7 was great in size, but it just felt too tall on the top and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then iPad Mini was great, but I still wanted a bit of an Android experience. So the Huawei MediaPad sounded spot on because I've got the Galaxy Note 3 now, and I wanted a slightly bigger size of a screen. Well, the MediaPad, you can use it as a phone. It's got a massive battery in there. It's thin as well. It's light. Yeah, and you can do that new backwards charging now, so I can actually use that tablet to charge my other devices on the go. So that
See, I mean, the
does
thing
it for
that
me.
impressed me about it is purely for the size that it's 7 inches, 5,000 milliamp hours, and the price point. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, €299 should be about 280 quid, give or take. I think for the price, what you're getting, it's an absolute stellar deal. I mean, what do you think about the price and the specifications that we're getting for such a good price?
Well, it's got yeah, it's got quad core processor in there, so
Yeah.
1.6 gigahertz, so it's quite fast. 2 gig RAM, nice camera on the back and front as well.
Mm.
The price point for what you're getting, for me, the battery alone, the battery life in there alone, which is supposed to last, well, Huawei said about 3 days or something without
Yeah.
charging it. That
To be fair,
alone,
the 5,000 milliamp hour, but I mean, when I looked at it, I thought the screen was also pretty cool. I mean, what do
oh
you
yeah.
reckon, Dan? Did you like the screen on it? I mean, I thought the screen was beautiful on the actual device. Again, for a Huawei device,
Dan,
I
you might
think you
need
might be.
to unmute your microphone.
Yeah, you muted, Dan.
Bit of a fail from me there. Yeah, it was good. I mean, screens are a big thing this year. You've got the big screens at the moment, like the 1080p ones, and you've got some 2K screens coming out. So screen technology is a big thing this year. It was very, very impressive. It's interesting what price we're going to get it at, because it's €300. You know, the UK don't always get the best conversion. The things in America, for example, like an Apple TV is $99, and in the UK it's £99. So you never know what it's going to cost once we get it in our country. But it was very, very impressive, especially as a 4G device as well. 4G networks going live now all around the UK, so you can put a 4G SIM card in there.
Yeah, and it's Cat 4 as well, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
it's fast enough for what we're all probably going to want to use it for. I mean, Cat, I know we like Cat 6 and Cat 5, but I mean, Cat 4, I mean, even if it's £299, I still don't think it'd be a bad price. I'd like it at cheaper, but I don't even think for 300 quid, for what you're getting, it's not a bad deal. I mean, what do you reckon to it, Nirav? Were you impressed by the X1, the MediaPad?
Yeah, I think the X1 was actually probably one of the best tablets on the show. I agree with what you guys are saying. It's for everything it packs into something that's say €300, and hopefully it'll come in at sub £300. Being able the 5,000 milliamp hour battery and reverse charging. Everyone carries a tablet, and the tablet's usually the last thing in your bag to die. So if you have the ability to then charge your existing other devices, whether it's your Wi-Fi or your phones, using your tablet, you can't really ask for much more than that.
Agreed, agreed. I mean, again, it's one of those devices that when they announced it, at first I thought, who wants a 7-inch phone? But when they sold to me as a tablet with you can make a phone call if you want to, I figured actually, I probably wouldn't use it as a phone. I'd use it as a mobile tablet device, but I'll have a SIM card in it. So it made sense at that point. But prior to that, I thought, why would I want a massive phone? But as a tablet, it definitely makes sense. So yeah, I agree with you, Tom. It's a very impressive device. So we'll move along. Nirav, what was your favourite thing about MWC? If it's the same thing, then we can move along.
It's actually really weird, but it's not exactly MWC as such, but it's everything to do with by the LG. I really like Notcode. I think it's really unique, and I think it's actually quite clever that on a little L40 L Series 3 smartphone,
Mm.
you're still able to get something like Notcode, which is a feature that, not naming names or anything, but other companies, Samsung, would only add to high-end devices. There's no need for swipes, there's no need for passwords. If you know the code, you're in. Nice, easy, simple. And I could easily see myself using that on my G2 all the time.
Yeah, and I agree. It's one of those things when I saw it, I thought, and then the guy explained it to me, and I thought, actually, it's pretty good. And then when I saw it on like the L35, the cheapest of cheap phones they sell, it was like, wow, it's even on the cheap phones. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool innovation from them as well. What about you guys, Tommy? What do you reckon to the knock on code? See, I always think of knock on of just the actual knock on, but you have to remember the code part. But what do you reckon to the knock on code?
It's a good idea. For me, it's nothing major. It just adds to the experience
Mm.
for the users, and I suppose that's part of what they should all be working on, creating an experience where it's all functional. It's not just there for the sake of it, because Samsung, other manufacturers like to put things on devices for the sake of, yeah, we can. But I like the fact that they've added that, and it's got a purpose to it. So that's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Dan, what about your thoughts on it? Again, you've muted your microphone, so just in case.
No, no, I'm muted now.
Yeah.
It's just another way of unlocking your phone, isn't it? I mean, you'd really think that the safest way on a lot of phones now is the face unlock, because it's only your face and you just point it up and it's unlocked. So it's kind of another row on your settings when you go to security, and you've got
Mm.
like PIN, pattern, password, face unlock, all that kind of stuff. It's now another row on there. It's an interesting. At least they've tried something different.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, my personal take on it is the face unlock feature, you can unlock that with a picture of somebody. So it's not really a security thing. To me, that was more of a gimmick than anything else. The people at LG, they kept saying that it's more secure than a fingerprint. And I figured, okay, how's that? And he said, because it's only for you. And I figured, yeah, but what if somebody watches me do it? They're going to know it. They're going to know my password. They're going to know my knock-on code. They can watch what you're doing. Saying, I think it's a cool idea and it's different and it kind of differentiates them than everybody else. So it makes sense. But at the same point, is it more secure? Probably not.
Question is that knock-on feature. I mean, it was very brief when I checked it out. Does he offer some sort of settings where you can put it into live mode, where it can basically recognize when it's a live person rather than a dead skin? So in terms of using a picture, for example, to unlock it, that would fix that issue. But I'm not sure if that was there or not. I don't know if you guys saw that or what.
I mean, the knock on, I mean, you have to actually physically tap it. So it, I don't know if I don't think it recognises whether it's this person or not a person. I think it's just
Okay.
the actual feedback on the screen, and it knows whether or not it's tapping or not. So you probably have to be there, or someone has to be touching it. I don't know if it has to be skin though. In all honesty.
Talking about the security aspect of it is though, you can't just tap in random places. So if you're looking at someone unlocking their phone and they're just tapping on the screen, you're going to have to be paying quite like you can tap anywhere on the screen, but you have to tap in the same order. So
Mm.
you couldn't tap at angles, etc. It's got to be kind of as if you're entering in a passcode. So if you are watching someone, chances are you might miss part of where they've tapped something, or especially if you go for an 8 tap combination in a random combination that only you will know. If you go for 2 taps, fair enough, it's not secure.
You have to
Or
have four at any one point, so four's the minimum.
okay, but the choices are you can just choose to do it as you want, so it can be as secure as you want to make it. Hence the reason
Yeah,
it
I
may not
suppose.
be it's not the most secure, but if you're on a train, there's no less secure, let's say, than putting a password in or a PIN code.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, again, it's something that differentiates them than the rest, but it's not something that I don't think it's more secure than a password or a PIN code. It's just another, as Dan said, it's just another layer of protection that you can customize for your own or for yourself, I suppose. So, right, let's move along. Let's move on to Dan. What was your favorite thing about the Congress? Whether it's a feature or whether it's a device, whatever it might be.
Mine's a device. Mine was the Sony Xperia, the Z2, not the tablet. That was nice, but the phone.
Yeah.
It was really really nice. They've taken everything that the Z was and improved with the Z1, and now they've improved it with the Z2. Even down to like the whole screen technology is a lot better. So better viewing angles, clearer colours. They've taken off that thin screen protector layer that kind of would scratch, so you weren't really using glass. So although it's a glass screen, it wasn't really using glass. So that's good. And I was just really really impressed. They've improved the obviously the water resistance on it. The camera's still really good. The 4K video was outstanding. They had some 4K TVs around there and was displaying some of the videos. And it's like a bit like on a pebble beach, and then you see the water come over it and everything. And just the clarity was amazing. It looks really nice. It's a good job really, and that was definitely I was toying between that and the Samsung, but Sony did such a good job. With it, I definitely have to say I think I saw it on the first day, and throughout the entire Congress, I just kept on talking about how much I liked it. So that for me won.
Yeah, I agree in that respect. I mean, the Z2 is probably the device of the event in terms of the top end spec because it had everything. I mean, it has a stellar camera for once. I mean, I know it's the same camera as last year, but the algorithms, whatever they've worked on, it just seemed. I don't know what they've done with it, but they've done some wonders. The 120 frames per second was the most impressive thing for me. Part of it. I mean, the 4K is cool, but the 120 frames per second, and being able to edit it on the phone and then export it straight to YouTube, I was like, that is impressive because with something like an iPhone when it first came out, it was let's be honest, a pain in the ass to edit it and actually get it up on YouTube. Whereas this one, edit it on the phone, upload, job done, finish straight away. I mean, what do you reckon about that, Tommy?
Well, it was a great device. I mean, Android market is so big that it's difficult these days to actually find that perfect phone that you want. Do you know what I mean? I think it's got good battery life. The waterproof element of the Xperia Z2 is actually well thought out. I think Dan was saying earlier, when you use it underwater, it's got a dedicated camera button, which means it's actually useful underwater to do that, unlike Samsung Galaxy S5, which is touchscreen only in that sense. And then one thing that I was impressed with as well is the slow-mo stuff. Like you mentioned, you can actually do the slow-mo and export it to like Instagram and whatnot straight away. If you try to do that on the iPhone 5S, you'd have to email it to yourself first. By the time you do all that, you've lost quality of the actual video. So, you know, it's a great phone. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a slow motion thing. It blew my socks off because it worked. Which I know it sounds silly to say that, but we've come to expect Sony products not to do what they're advertised. You've got an amazing screen and it's crap. Whereas the Z2 screen, it's advertised as great, and I would say it's probably one of the best, if not the best LCD that I've seen. I mean, the only ones that come close were probably the LG G2. So yeah, I mean, what do you reckon, Nav? Do you reckon the Z2 is going to be a hit or a miss?
I think in terms of a device, yeah, for the first half of this year, it's possibly going to be one of the best devices on the market. There's a lot of people who may have looked at. I mean, I've been critical of the Z and the Z1 screens since the Z came out, and there's a lot of people I know on YouTube who have just gone, "No, we don't believe you. Sony makes good screens," and anyone who's used a Z or a Z1 knows the only thing pretty much letting it down was the screen, and obviously the processor and things like that. Everything seems to have been fixed, and I think you said this before, Sam. Sony's actually listening to their users,
Yeah.
as opposed to deciding. Unlike companies, we'll go with Samsung name dropping all over again. Oh yeah, our users want this, that, and the other. Doesn't matter what they want. We're just going to give them a heart rate sensor. Yeah, sure. There's probably 5 people in the world who use Samsung products who want a heart rate sensor, but it's worth a whole new device. Sony's made less changes, but arguably much better changes.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that they might have an issue with is it's not overly that long since the Z1 came out.
Yeah, I get your point on that one straight away. Yeah, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that part because it seems like I mean, well, in the last 13 months, they've announced their three new flagship phones. Now, yeah, so that's a short time to announce three of their top end phones and to have the same moniker of branding as well. Yeah, it's kind of like saying, well, wait 6 months and get the Z3. Is it going to happen or are they going to wait 12 months now? Because this device, I think, is good enough to last 12 months. I don't think in the past the Z was good enough to last 12. Like the Xperia S, they had to bring the Xperia T out because the S which wasn't good enough. But they've finally got the top end specs in a phone that's out at the same time as Samsung, HTC, and everyone else. They've got the top end specs in there for once, and they're selling it on a level playing field for once. So I mean,
Just to
hopefully,
Sorry, just to point out something as well. I know that the bezel thing situation. What do you think of that? What do you guys think? It's still there.
yeah, yeah. Well, as you all know, I hate bezels. I mean, obviously I know they've got to be there. LG do it perfect for me. When you compare the Z2 against the LG G2, and they both got the same screen size, but the G2 is just so much easier to, so much smaller to hold. But yet, you don't, it's not like the bezels are too small. They're just perfect. Whereas on the Sony, they're huge. They're very much similar to Nokia. They always have massive bezels. And I know that they say it's so you can hold your phone like this, but who really holds the phone like this? I never hold my phone like that. I mean, just give me one big bezel, hold it in one hand. So I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the bezels. That's the improvement they need to make next time is make a big phone, but make it smaller. That's how I'd say on that one. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, the bezels thing is an interesting thing, really. The screen is nice, and you can kind of see where they're coming from. If you want to hold your phone, if you're a gamer and you use it in landscape mode or to view photos, that kind of thing. The biggest thing I'm pleased is that they're launching on the latest version of Android because Sony always used to launch their flagship phone on an old version, and I was expecting this to launch on 4.3 and then tell everyone it launches on 4.3, but we've got an update path to 4.4 and all that stuff. But they're going straight in at 4.4, which is really, really nice, and I think they've learned their lesson from that. So yeah, that's I was very pleased to see that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of manufacturers though. They all seem to say, "Oh, we're launching on this version, then we've got an update in a month, and then it's 6 months later. We're still waiting for the updates." I mean, fair play to Sony. They have updated their phones quicker than they have done in the past. Which again, they've had to listen to the consumers, like Tom was saying earlier. They're listening to people. I mean, I think actually Matt didn't mean to said it earlier. They're listening to the consumer for once, and that's what companies need to do because they can't compete with Samsung in terms of marketing budget because nobody can. So they need to listen to the consumer and sell the consumer what they want, not what the company thinks they want. So yeah, I mean, go ahead, Tara.
Sorry, just on the subject of that, it's quite. I personally think that Sony's obviously doing Google Play devices, and so is Samsung, etc. LG's made a Google Play device. Yeah, I think that.
No, they make the Nexus device, but they've not done a Google Play device yet.
Okay. Well, they've all got access to the latest version of Android. So this is giving them, although they may be doing it for, see in the case of LG, they're doing it for the Nexus range, but the company still has access to the latest version of Android. So this could also be another reason that we're seeing everything launch with the latest version of Android. Could be why Google has given everyone Google Play devices, because in the background what we're seeing is the later phones are not coming out running, unless you like the likes of Huawei, etc. You might be running on 4.2.2. But there were days in the past where Sony, Samsung, and everyone flagships would run on 4.2.2, and you'd see something running on 4 or 4.1 from Huawei. So we're seeing Google's kind of opened up the Android OS so they've got access to the updates as soon as possible because they need them for the Google Play edition devices. But the knock-on effect is the other devices these companies announce are all running later versions of Android. And a lot of them are going to be on the latest version of Android.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is as the operating system kind of develops and it matures, because let's be honest, it's not a very mature operating system. I mean, it has come a long way as Android, but it's still got a long way to go. In terms of the way it's gone, it seems easier for manufacturers now to integrate their software. I think Google have made it easier, but they've also made it a bit a bit more stringent, what they can and what they can't modify. I mean, with the Sony, I mean they don't go overboard with it. They skin it, but they don't change the whole experience. Whereas Samsung changed the whole experience, and LG changed the whole experience. I mean, I would still be stuck on 4.2.2 on my LG if I didn't have CyanogenMod on it, and that's because of all the LG crap, like the Samsung crap. And Huawei, they put their own bloody spin on it, and these companies need to start learning. Skin it, fair play, but don't change the experience because that's what slows the updates. For I think it slows the updates anyway. I could be completely wrong, but HTC did a good like little piece showing you how they update their software and why it takes so long. A lot of times, it's not even the manufacturers; it's the actual carriers that are saying no, 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 you can't publish it yet. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's launched on 4.4.2 though. That's a big plus point for me. You know, Sony have never done that, so thank you Sony for finally doing something right. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my favourite thing, and it's kind of linked in to what Dan said. It's part of Sony, not just the actual Z2. It's kind of the whole Sony experience here at MWC. For the first time, I mean, last year the guys there were awesome, really awesome guys. But this year, it just felt more, I don't know, dare I say it, but more Nokia-ish in terms of the kind of experience. They were very friendly. They seemed like they actually enjoyed working for the company this year. Whereas last couple of years, they just seemed, yeah, we're here. Whereas this year, the guys were happy. They were like, quick, look at our new product. Look at our Z2. Look at our Z2 tablet. Look how cool the camera is. And one of the biggest things for me was the Xperia transfer, where you can plug it into any other Android device, but you can also plug it into an iPhone, and it transfers everything from the iPhone to your Sony. And I was like, wow. And I've got a video of that coming out on my channel pretty soon, people. And yeah, it was like, damn. So if you've got an iPhone 5C, 5S, whatever it might be, plug it in, overend it into your Xperia device, click transfer, pictures, music, everything, apart from some applications. But if the same application is on Android, it will automatically say to you, you want to download this version, because it knows it's there. If that version is not on Android, what it'll do is give you a recommendation, which I thought, wow, that's impressive. So the Xperia transfer was the most impressive part, but it was Sony themselves. They seemed like they enjoyed themselves for once. So I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, what do you guys reckon the whole Sony experience, not just the phone, but the actual experience at the booth? Do you want to go first, Tommy?
Go back to what I was saying earlier about user experience on the device. I mean, from that feature alone, it's important because you want users to get it out of the box, and whatever phone they've got before, they can simply just transfer everything over seamlessly without feeling like, oh, I need to then move my messages over, I need to go through my contacts, I need to do this, I need to do that. I mean, the shocking in a good way part that you mentioned was it transfers your apps as well, even if it's going to iOS. That I want to see that in action because I didn't see that myself, but that's pretty amazing, isn't it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a video on it, so when I get it edited finally, yeah, the internet in Spain sucks, people. But no, I was like, wow, it just transferred everything, and it was like, how did it do it? I think it works is it tells the iPhone or the other device, whatever it might be. In this case, the iPhone, it says, I'm iTunes, give me the stuff. And that's how it replicates it. It just replicates iTunes. So it could get patched in the future and get broken. But the gentleman at Sony said, no, we're willing to fix it straight away, and we're going to rehack it if they try and block it. So yeah, but that's how the actual technology wants to work. But yeah, I was like, wow, applications as well. How?
What happens in
works.
What happens in the case when you've got an app that's not available on one platform and vice versa? Do you see what I mean? What happens in that case?
No, what they said that what'll happen is it'll give you a recommendation. So as an example, let's say, I don't know, what's an iOS app? Mailbox. We know that's iOS only at the moment. It may give you their alternative. So they might give you something like My Mail or K9 Mail, something very similar. It will give you what they recommend as an alternative. You may want to take it on, you may not. It's up to you. But yeah, it will give you recommendations.
Awesome. Should we move on to the next point?
Yeah, I mean, Narav, Dan, what do you reckon is the whole Sony experience just really quickly?
I was going to say with the Sony stand, I was very impressed. It's almost like everyone was proud to work for the company this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a big thing with the Sony and Ericsson, where the buyout and everything, kind of around the time of the headset one, that kind of thing. And this year, everyone seemed to be happy to be there. They had so much equipment there. They were really showing off. How many HD 4K TVs did they have? just to show the HD TV. I mean, I've seen a couple online. I've been looking at prices, and it's like £4,500, and all that was doing was plugged into a phone to show off the video quality. They weren't holding back. They were proud to show off their equipment, and the people seemed very, interested in being there and getting their name over. And one of the guys today asked me what was my best phone I've seen, and I told him straight. They said two. I explained the reasons why, and he was very pleased to hear that. And they've been asking a lot of people, how do they find Sony this? The stand was massive. It was very spacious. Very, very happy. It was one of the stands I would easily go back to, and not kind of feel people were hanging around. It's almost, some stands are almost like felt like a sales environment. You kind of had, all these reps coming around. Are you okay there? What are you looking for? All that kind of thing, like you'd expect from a phone shop. And they were just very laid back. And you go to them, you ask them any questions. If they didn't know the answer, they would get somebody to come over and give you the answer. They wouldn't just leave you open and stuff. So I was very impressed with Sony this year.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And Rav, really quickly, what did you think, just really quickly on this point? Nope. Okay, let's move on to the next section then. don't know what happened there. The worst things about NWC, what was the thing that you're thinking, oh, really? Why did they do that? So, I will just go back in order again. If you want to go first, tell me what was the most disappointing thing, or the thing that made you go like, oh, at NWC?
Right. Okay. So, as a manufacturer, when you turn up to MWC, you need to bring something that's great to the table that makes it worthwhile. And I think this year, unfortunately, is Nokia, because it's disappointing in the sense that, for me, it's not the product. The X series are great. They've got purpose to them. They have a target market that they're aiming those devices for. I mean, dual SIM and things like that. It's running Android as well. It's the first time. Well, Android is not. It's not really. It's they forked it basically. It's a modified version kind of thing. So it's all right. It's there for a purpose. But for me, I was expecting something extra. So I was expecting that little thing at the end, like so. And for everyone else, this is what we've got, kind of thing. But that didn't happen this year. So I was left wanting. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, I can see your point on that one. I think the point you try to get to is it wasn't the most disappointing thing about the actual phone. It was the whole, you expected something bigger from Nokia, because last couple of years we've been like, wow, that's pretty decent devices, and this year was like, where's the big device you're going to launch? And I think them announcing AOSP Android as such, I think they assumed that was big enough, and as we know, we wanted bigger. I think that's what they kind of, is that the point you mean to get to, I suppose?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like, say for example, last at MWC we had all those new Lumia range that made people think, they demoed some features and we were like, wow, this is amazing, glad we came. But this year we're like, Nokia X, we looked to them, cheers, thank you. What did Sony announce then?
Yeah. I mean, Dan, do you want to jump onto that part, because that part? Oh, what did Sony announce? That you're going to give you a little story.
Yeah. I've been saying, well, first of all, I've been saying for a while that I'd love a Nokia Android phone. What I meant was I would love something like that running Android. And I said to you all tonight, taking photos, if that ran Android, I would never look at another phone for God knows how long. But that's not what we got. I got kind of a very emotionally in a ranted mood about it. I just couldn't believe what they did. It was like, they announced the X, there was another X, and there was an XL, there was like 3 technically Android phones. And then they started saying, well, doesn't have the Play Store, but it does have Microsoft services or Nokia services. Well, you've taken away all the Google services, which is what part of Android's about. And a lot of people, if you ask them, who wanted a Nokia Android phone, what they want was the Nokia hardware, which is really, really good, paired with the Google Android software. That's not a customized version of it like the Kindle Fire, because that's a different product. What they wanted to have was the Google Android experience with the Gmail, the YouTube, the Google Maps, not have it replaced with Microsoft services, have the home screen skinned like it looks like Windows Phone, slide it to the side to have a list of apps like Windows Phone, and give you access to Microsoft services. It seemed almost pointless. But what you're saying about the announcement, I was really disappointed, and I don't think I held back in telling people that. I sat there really excited about the conference, and I really wanted to get in, got a great seat, got sitting down, and then they started announcing these Android phones. I'm like, okay, not that impressed what's coming next. And then they were kind of like, right, so, and then they started taking answers and things. And as soon as they started telling me that they've replaced all the Google services with Microsoft services, I ended up going onto the Sony website and seeing what Sony had announced, because I wasn't at their conference. I went to the Nokia one, and I'm posting about the G2. That's not the G2, the Z2 and the Z2 tablet. At the Nokia press conference, here they are announcing these Android phones, and I'm posting about Sony because it was just so much better what they had. I just couldn't believe that after all this, they've come out with an Android phone that isn't Android at all. The fact you need to sideload apps it's ridiculous. It's I was very disappointed. I think I spent the whole of 10 minutes at the presentation and maybe about 10 minutes there again today, but I didn't really visit the stand hardly any time this year, which for me, considering last year they announced the PureView, the 808, with the whole 41 megapixel camera. We knew it was on Symbian, which was a kind of a dying OS, but they went out there and said, look, this is what we can do. This year, complete opposite.
See, man, I'm in a similar vein, is that I exactly like yourself, I want a 1020. I'd even take a 925 running stock Android or proper Android. For me, the Nokia X series, I see the point in it, but at the same point I'm thinking, you've removed the core component, which I like about Android, which is the Google services. And you've gone and baked in the Microsoft services, and I didn't sign up to Android for the Microsoft services. I don't want to use OneDrive, SkyDrive. I don't want to use a Microsoft account. I want to use my Google account. I've got applications I've paid for on the Google Play Store. How do I run them on my Nokia X? I can't. I've got to use the Amazon App Store, the Yandex App Store, or the Nokia App Store, which it kind of leads to a massive confusion. I've got three application stores, or three app stores within one phone. I mean, to me, it seems suicide at times.
Well, one thing I want to say though, that we might be missing a point here though, because personally, from speaking to certain people from the booth and everything, and from my opinion as well, I actually believe they didn't aim that phone at someone like, say, Sam or myself in terms of an Android device. I think the reason why you've got like your Microsoft services underneath everything is to sort of give everyone that experience of like a little taste of what it's like to actually use a proper Windows phone. So they're trying to ease in people who aren't already on Lumia devices, who are scared to jump on Lumia devices. They might be using a cheap Android phone at the minute. Do you see what I mean? So if those people try it out, they might feel like, actually, Microsoft services is great. I want more. Do you know what I mean? So
see,
I think,
can see what you mean. Yeah. I mean,
but the only thing that they need to get right here is the fact that you have to sideload apps. And not everyone's going to be able to do that or have time to do that.
I mean, I'll jump in there. You don't have to sideload apps. It's
right.
If the application's not available, if it's not in the Amazon App Store, the Yandex App Store, the ones that the Nokia are going to have on their App Store. If they're not on those three stores, you then got to sideload the app. You can't sideload anything that's got Google services if it uses Google location. So they're going to have to be re-put in there for here, which I understand the here part of it, because Nokia here, it all makes sense. But my question to them now is, they want people to get the Lumia experience, or they want the Windows Phone experience. That's completely fine. But what if, I think one of you guys kept saying, what if I've come from a HTC Wildfire, and I've purchased applications, and I think this runs Android, and I get onto the app, I get into this store, and I'm like, okay, where's my games I've paid for? Or where's this I've paid for? I'm then thinking, hang on, what? And then to me, that's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth with regards to the Nokia branding, because I'm thinking, I'm going to purchase this device, and I can't use it like I thought I could use my Android device. I've now got to re-buy those applications. No thank you, see you later Nokia. And it's going to work in two ways. it's either going to promote Windows Phone, but to me, I think it's going to do more bad to the Nokia brand than it's going to do good to the Lumia brand.
So
That's
very
how I
quickly
personally see
say,
it.
what we want to talk. One very quick, I want to make quickly is that the Microsoft Nokia chose their brand to go with. They had Migo or Mimo, whichever version you want to call it, and they say it wasn't working out. They said Symbian wasn't working out, so they wanted to go to something new. So they chose Microsoft. And to me, if they're going to announce an Android phone, it shouldn't be a stepping stone, giving them a Windows Phone experience with an Android background to it. The Lumia 520 is £65 at the moment, SIM-free, which is kind of what this is going to cost anyway. That is a Windows Phone. Don't try and hide the Android system with a Windows Phone looking experience to then hopefully down the line persuade people to go to Windows Phone, because you're not giving them an Android experience, you're giving them a Microsoft experience of a phone that's kind of almost, I don't think it was, well, I can't say it wasn't thought through properly, but to me, that's not an Android phone. It might be, the core system might be there, but you don't have the core apps, you don't have the backing of the original people, Google. You're not giving somebody a Android experience, you're giving them the Android experience that Microsoft want you to have.
Do you know?
Go on,
it's actually, I agree with everything that you guys are saying, but in a way it's not very different to what Amazon are doing. With Amazon and the Kindle range, they're introducing people to Amazon services. Granted, Amazon are a bigger company than Nokia, but if you look at the branding of the X when it comes out, it's fine, it runs on Android, but they're not going to say it's Android as you know it. At the end of the day, as we know, Android is running on, it's got the AOSP, so it's, and we're so used to Android being a Google Play experience. But if someone was to pick up a Kindle Fire example, any of the Kindle devices, believing it had Android, they would have the exact same philosophy of, oh wow, I don't have the Google Play services. So I'm not saying that, granted, I'm definitely not saying that. We all know that one of the biggest draws to Android is this unbelievable wealth of apps. But if it's not marketed as being running on Android KitKat, it's running on the Nokia X Android platform. So even if they just call it the Nokia X platform example, as long as they're not branding it as an Android device, I think they'll have less concerns than if they are saying they're promoting it as their Android phone. Because otherwise, I agree with you, Sam. If you go from something like a HTC Wildfire S to this, and then you realise you haven't got any of your Google services, you are going to be pissed. There is no other way around it.
But the thing is, sorry to jump in there, but the thing is, you would never go from a full, proper Android device to a Nokia X series.
I don't see that. But the people buying a £100 phone, how are they going to know? They're told the advertising is not, they're not going to sell it as Android. They're going to sell it as running Android apps. So that's fine. But where are my apps? Where's my apps from a Wildfire? And you got to think the people buying a cheap device, they're not going to know the difference. We do, but we're never going to go to Nokia X as our main phones. I mean, going back to the point you said there, in regards to the Kindle. Now, the Kindle's a different kind of thing. That's running their services. They're not trying to promote something like Windows Phone. They're trying to promote the Amazon services, which is completely fine. And I can see the kind of, the kind of togetherness. But they never sell it as running Android. They sell it as a Kindle Fire. Now, Nokia's branding is going to be around, you can run Android apps. Now, it doesn't run Android. They're not allowed to say it runs Android. They can say it runs AOSP. Because if they start saying it runs Android, then Google gets involved because they own the Android brand for it. And that's why they can't say it runs Android. And that's why when Elop was on stage, he kept saying, oh, it runs Android apps, the AOSP, because it's got the baseline of the AOSP. Android itself, they can't market it as that. But what they are going to market it as is running Android apps, which is technically true. But again, what if I've got a Wildfire and I want to get a Nokia X and I go, it runs Android apps like my Android phone? Oh wait, it doesn't. That's not a good experience.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because there's a big danger there. Because if say someone who's coming from a Wildfire S walks into a phone shop and go, well, can I have this? There's a danger that a shop assistant who hasn't got a clue is going to go, actually, there's a Nokia phone here that runs Android apps and stuff. So the customer buys that, takes it home, takes it out, and goes, yeah, I'm going to download all my old apps from Google Play Store, and they're not there. There's no Google Play. There's a store. But there's no access to those apps. That customer is gonna be absolutely p-word. And
they're going to be pissed. I'll say it.
Yeah, it's gonna go back. It's gonna go back to the store and be like, "This is not Android," and get my phone back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but
there's a big
then
danger there.
who's the company that's going to lose out there? Nokia. Because it's going to be. Oh my God, Nokia! They've sold me a phone that doesn't run Android apps, but it does. But it doesn't.
I think very quickly, if Nokia aren't going to class this as an Android phone, then you've got to wonder. You can say, what's the point? Because yeah, it runs Android apps, okay, but it's not an Android phone. So then you're not calling it an Android phone. You're not selling it as an Android phone, so it's not an Android phone. But you're kind of saying, well, it is because you can sideload apps. Well, no, you're not going to class it as an Android phone. Just stick to the Lumia brand. I'm pretty sure they could get Lumia phones at the same price they've got the 520. If you're going to go with the whole Android, not wording, but the OSP kind of setup and sideloading apps, you need to class it as an Android phone. You need to give an Android experience to it, and they're just not.
Would you say it's I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. Would you say this now puts the X series range, does that put them in the same bracket as the BlackBerry phones now? Because obviously BlackBerry 10 you can sideload Android apps as well, but it's not Android experience.
I can see your point there. I mean, the whole point of this part is that you don't have to sideload apps. That's the thing. I mean, I think if anyone from Nokia is watching this, they're probably thinking, "Oh my God, they keep saying to sideload apps. What the hell?" No, you don't have to sideload them. You've just got 3 application stores, and when you search for that app, if it's available in one of those stores, then you can download it. But the problem there is you've got to use 3 different app stores, and that to me leads to more confusion. And what if the app's not on those app stores? And again, you're an avid old Android user, and if you pay for the app, it's just good. To me, it's doing more bad to the Nokia brand. And Nokia don't need that. They need to promote their brand. They need to make sure and solidify it. And I thought the Lumia range was doing that. They've kind of taken a step back. I can see the point of it, but at the same point, it's going to lead to confusion for the consumer. We know it is.
Sorry, Karen.
No, I'm saying we know how it works, but the end consumer who goes into a phone shop, again, I work in a phone shop. I know people who know other phone shops in my town that will go, yeah, we'll sell these. It runs Android.
We've all worked in phone shops, and we all know
exactly,
that.
But we know how it works, don't we? Then we know exactly how people are going to sell the phones to get them off the shelf.
You've got to look at developers, though. Developers like I might develop an Android app. Okay, might be a very basic one, but it's my app I've developed for Android. I'm going to go to the developer store on Android, and I'm going to submit that app. That app is then going to reach the store and be available to every Google Play device around the world if I want it to be. But it won't show up on the Nokia store unless they choose to include it, or it won't show on another store.
Yeah. Saying just a point on that, if you were a developer, someone from Nokia, I'm not going to mention names or anything, he was saying what you'd need to do is port it over to Amazon's app servers, and that would allow Nokia store to have access to those apps as well. Because I was mentioning my app and say, okay, actually, I can't find my app on your store because I was trying to search it straight away. And then he was saying to me, actually, there's a app development area down the hallway where you can actually get them to port it over to Amazon's servers, which then gives Nokia store access to the app. So that's what they'd have to do. And then the second thing is, I actually spoke to Rudy, who's a big app developer in Windows phone store, and I was saying, so what do you think of the Nokia X series? He's not interested, and he's one of the major developers in the game.
I mean,
especially
that part
for
there,
Nokia.
Regarding going to the Amazon App Store, all you do is you just give them the APK effectively. But the problem is that you've got to, if you use Google's location within your app, you've then got to, it's not hard to do from what I understand, you've got to then use the Microsoft services and the Here services, whereas it won't use the Gmail or the Google services, which I believe it's a very simple kind of process, but I don't think that's the point. The developer's going to think, well, I've created this app, it's taken me 6 months, I've now got to give it to you to modify it and then put it on another store, and then every time I do that, I've got to get you to modify it. Why would I do that as a developer when it's a very small user base up to the billions of people on Android, on real Android, let's say? I mean, I think we could go over this topic more than once. But
Nokia must think we ate them right now. So yeah.
No, I mean, I think the points we've given, we see the idea what they're trying to bring to the table. It's just, from our point of view, again, all working in retail, we all know what it's like. It's going to add to the confusion to the consumer. I mean, I like what they're doing. I see where they've tried to do it. I just think it's a flawed system, the way they've gone about it, personally. It's removed my favourite features. Google.
Let me just very quickly say, I mean, it is what it is now. It's just been announced. However, if they're serious about this helping them connect to the next billion, in example, developing countries, where the Asher brand is good, but it is not considered a smartphone, it's considered a feature phone. This looks to be a possible replacement going forward for the Asher brand, like we said earlier, and a route into Windows Phone. So at the moment, fine, developers may not be interested. However, if you suddenly got Nokia X selling in tens and hundreds of millions around the world, in the developing countries where Lumia is too expensive, where it's just too expensive for them to do the whole full Windows Phone experience or the full Android experience, and they're going for these low-cost Android phones, even someone like Rudy could be tempted to change his mind if he goes, all right, I've developed this app for 6 months, taking your example, Sam, it's now going to take me, I've got to submit, it's going to take a week to be reconverted, but suddenly it'll be available to 52 other million people around the world in developing countries, where all of my advertising revenue example could be better because this company is looking to specifically target users in developing countries. So the use case scenario for the Nokia X, pending the fact that it actually survives past the eventual buyout by Microsoft, could be an entirely different, because I don't think Nokia X is for Western Europe or developed countries. It's for those interesting, like those up-and-coming countries where it's most likely going to eventually replace the Asher brand.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I mean, the X is coming to Europe. It's coming to Europe first. It's in the first list of it, so it's for everywhere. It's not just for the emerging markets. It's for any way they want to sell it. I mean, I see your point there in terms of connecting the next billion people, but would those billion people think, I want Android because I can run these applications not on that store? Again, that's just my. I see where Nokia want to go with it and why they've done it. It's just not the way I would have personally done it. And I think that's the case, but all of us kind of agree in that one, is that we see why they want to do it, we just wouldn't do it that way. And that's the gist of that one. So we'll move on to the next one. Nirav, what was your most disappointing thing? If it's the same thing, and we can again just move on. I think we've spoken about the Nokia X a little bit too much now.
No, it's not the Nokia X, because I'll be honest, at least Nokia announced something and had it ready for people to play with. Yep. I mean, I like the company, but I think everyone can figure out where I'm going with this. Who announces a product on a Monday, calls it their flagship mid-range product, and then displays it at the conference? We're not going to lie, they displayed it at the conference, but in Pyrex. And it's one thing doing it for random people, but if you're a member of the press, you aren't at the press conference on the Monday, which, according, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, you told us, you weren't even allowed to play with it.
No,
just to clarify, I'm talking about HTC and the Desires
816.
Oh,
Yeah, we got to the
816.
event. It was announced, and then there was some couple of phones downstairs. It was like 3 tables, each with the 3 colour phones on it. And as soon as anyone reached over to touch the phone, someone was a stand going, "Don't touch the phones." You couldn't turn the phone even around to get a picture or to see what the back was like or anything like that, because as soon as anyone put any touched any part of that phone, they were screamed at, "Don't touch the phones." Like, well, you've announced the phone, you've got press here, you want them to advertise the phone and start taking pictures to show people what it looks like, and you're not allowed to do that. And this is at the event, and obviously then back in their stand, like you said, they had it on display, but in a big box that you couldn't get out and take any pictures of. And that was only the 816. They also announced the 610, which wasn't even mentioned at the announcement. The only first time I heard about it was at the press release, so when I put my memory stick in, and there's a press release for the 610. And then they didn't even have one at the event anyway, apparently. So, yeah.
The funny thing is, I mean, they've done all of that, and eventually they did have a sample for members of press to take a look at. One sample. Only one. I mean, Samsung announced the S5, and then, fine, it was in a media booth. But in that media booth, there were like shed loads for everyone to play with. One sample. Come on, HTC. You really need to do better than that. Because why would anyone cover it? You can't wait around to get a hands-on with it. If there's a queue for like 10 15 people ahead of you, that's 2 hours of your time wasted. And it's just like, well, no, I've got other things to cover. It's not as if I'm going to wait around for you guys. The idea of MWC is you bring your products to me. Like, you leave them there for me to play with. You don't make me jump through hoops to play with anything.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on the experience with HTC was, blah. It was a bit like, yeah, I'll come back to you guys just before I leave the show to have a look at what you've got. But talking about the actual product, to try and focus on that rather than the experience, the Desire 81C, even the specifications were a bit mediocre. Like, okay, it's got a good processor, but then it comes with 8 gig internal memory. I think it's actually, if this is allowed, illegal for any devices in 2014 to have less than, okay, I'm going to go really low, say 16 gig of internal memory. Why would you put 8 gig internal in there, for one? The screen resolution's like 720p or so. It's just, why? Like, literally, what? WTF? Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of get that one. It doesn't. I mean, I know the class is there. I don't get how you sell it as a flagship mid-range phone. It sounds a bit. Really? Can you even say that? A flagship mid-range? It's a mid-range phone. Your flagship's your flagship. End of the day, yeah, you can say this is your best. This is your best mid-range phone, but let's not sugarcoat shit. Yeah, it is how it is, and it's HTC. I think we're all thinking, yes, we're waiting for the next one. And then they announced this as their press release. And I think Dan was like, he walked out after he couldn't touch the phone. It's like, well, why should I stick around? What's the point?
Well, there's nothing else to do. I mean, I was there to the announcement. They announced the phone. I typed everything up, and you can't get pictures of it. It's just like, oh, okay, so what do I do now? I've typed up everything, the specs, which were very limited, what was given at the event. It was all on the press release. All we were told was it has a quad-core processor. Okay, but nothing was mentioned of the speed, so you had to type it all up. And then you couldn't get any photos of it. So it's like, okay, well, Samsung starts in 3 hours. I'm going to go and queue up.
I mean,
I ended up going to the Samsung stand.
You were given some specs and then they changed. You got a different release, like a different kind of spec sheet twice or something like that.
Well, they kind of were very brief around the mention. They mentioned, oh, it's got boom sound, which was obviously the speakers. But then they mentioned the camera, very basic details about camera. It has a quad-core processor. They didn't mention anything about the memory or anything like that. It was literally very, very rushed. Yeah, this is some of the basic specs. Everything's on your press release. And then you're trying to type it up and try to get some photos, and then you can't get any photos. So what you're left with is a couple of press pictures on the press release. It's... I mean, it seems very rushed.
That's what I was going to say. It just seems like they thought on Sunday evening, do you think we should do something? Yeah, let's do something. Let's just announce the phone because we can. And then they did that.
You couldn't even switch the phones on. It was not switched on.
Which negates the point of having a phone at the Congress. Why have something? It's like me saying, here's the HTC One. You can't play with it, but it's a HTC One. It makes no sense. You might have a dummy phone. It might as well be a dummy phone. So yeah, I mean, right. Let's go to Dan. What was your most disappointing thing about the Congress? Again, if it's the same thing, then we can move along. But what was your most disappointing thing?
Yeah, I think people probably realised when I mentioned about my Nokia X earlier on that I was disappointed with it. So that was mine.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I didn't. To be honest, I didn't really get the gist of why you were.
I can go over in a bit more detail if you like, but
I think we've covered the Nokia X more than.
And I do want to quickly say, if anyone from Nokia is watching this, I do love the brand of Nokia. You know, I've been a Nokia fan for years. I used to do a Nokia dedicated site for many years. I know a lot of the people in Nokia and their press teams and their Nokia Connects, and they are really, really great people, and I love them to bits. They would help you out any way they could. So it's nothing to do with anything. It's not their decisions what happens and everything.
Nothing personal.
No, if they're watching this, then I want to let them know that still friends. But yeah, it's nothing about that. It is this product.
Yeah, I mean, again, I could echo those things. I mean, again, I see the future for them. Why they're doing it? It's just not the way that we would have pursued it if we were running the company, which may be a good thing. Who knows? We don't really know. Where would we have taken the company? Now that's for a different podcast. My kind of I don't know. I had so many things that I could have said was the worst thing about it. I mean, I don't think the Nokia X was the worst thing for me personally. I think some of it was some companies turning up and not really doing anything. And again, you had HTC, you had ZTE, which it kind of makes me think, why did they even turn up? Just save your cash and announce something later on. it just seemed more of a ball ache than no else. The Oppo stand, I mean, sorry to the guys at Oppo, I went to the Oppo stand and it was on the last day, granted, but no one seemed interested. No one wanted to talk. I'm trying to ask questions and people were very disinterested. And it seemed to be that was the kind of thing.
Just to quickly butt in there, just because I'm browsing through Twitter at the same time. Chris Davies, who writes for Slash Gear, he's saying it's not entirely true that people didn't get hands on with the devices. But just to point out, that's obviously special access for certain press, part of the press, like in terms of people like Slash Gear, like themselves. Obviously, people like say the bigger guys like CNET, Expert Reviews, Virgin.
You mean the websites that get all preferential treatment? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, so, I mean the guys like us, we ask for hands-on with device, we get told sorry we don't have one, or sorry there's not one you can play with. I mean, Dan was at the actual press event and he couldn't touch it at the actual event when they announced it. So again, it's not even in regards to the show floor. He was there when it got announced, although the people at Slash Gear and other places probably got hands on with it maybe days before that. Who knows?
Well, I will say, Lee at Cool Smartphone, he did actually manage to get hands on, which was quite surprised. I mean, me and Narav went to the stand, and we know some of the guys there, and we asked them about any chance of getting a phone out to take pictures of, and they're like, no. They're kind of, this is what it is. It's in the box. That's what we can do. And then all of a sudden, kind of on the day before the last day, they got an email about if you want to kind of quickly come and get a couple of photos, you can. You couldn't turn the phone on or anything like that. It was literally quick, there's the phone in the hand, a couple of pictures around the phone, and that's it. So you were able to, especially when it was kind of announced, especially the first couple of days, not a chance in hell of getting your hands on it. Then they gradually, I think, realised they need to let some people start doing it, and it's kind of if you were at the right place at the right time, you were able to.
They were probably
it definitely wasn't for anybody.
Taiwan trying making the phone, thinking, "Crap, let's get it made. It should get shipped over overnighted."
I mean, I went to HTC today, and they went, "No, sorry, it's not here anymore. We took it back this morning." So that means, all right, granted, don't get me wrong. According to a tweet that Chris Davies just put out, he's saying that he doesn't know how Chris Burns got him to take it out. So I assume that he was in the Pyrex box when they tried to take photos. I'm not going to name drop, but I do know a few sites who had access to it untethered Monday morning before it was even announced, and I've seen some of the EXIF data on photos to prove this. Can't name drop, but again, it is all about different treatment for different people. But if you're going to bring it to the show, first, with the big hoo-ha of not even displaying it for 2 days, or not letting people take it out, why would you then leave it out for 24 hours, give it to anyone who's asked, and then take it home again on Thursday morning? Having known that it sometimes can take a little bit of time for it to filter through, so there will be people running around on the last day hoping to get even pictures of it, and you just go, "Nah, sorry." I mean, it's without a shadow of a doubt. It's like, why did you bother turning up? You had a stand and all you were displaying was 2013 products. There really was no need for you guys to be here.
I remember when we asked about it, didn't they tell you there was one, that there had to be one rule for everyone? It was either everyone could get hands on it or no one could, and they decided to go with like no one, and then that suddenly changed, and then some people got hands on it, and it was like, oh, how did you? I remember I said to you about it. I said, oh, Lisa's got hands on with the 816. So how's he done that? So I really don't know. I said he's literally just had an email saying you can shoot down for a couple of minutes. That was all it was. So it's kind of not good.
Anyway, let's move on from HTC because I think we're gonna hate on it. It's gonna seem like we're hating on HTC, which again, I think we all agree this device was probably one of the best, if not the best, devices of last year. Arguably with the LG G2, but I mean this is probably one of my favourite devices ever made. I'm a HTC fan, and the reason why it annoys me when stuff like this happens is because I am a fan of them. I do like their products, similar to the Nokia thing. I like them as a company. I like what they create. And when they make mess-ups like this, it annoys me more than it would be if, let's say, Huawei did it, or if ZTE did it or somebody, because I believe in their products, and I think that's why we get a bit emotional with it. That's the gist of it.
I agree with you completely, though. As much as the great company usually make great products, but sometimes you've got to take it as it comes, and if you, my language, screw up a launch, a big event like MWC. There's something that you kind of need to debrief, look back exactly what went wrong just to make sure it never happens again.
Right then, let's move on to the next topic, which is the WTF moment. So the what the fuck moment of the Congress. So, Tommy, if you want to go ahead with this one, what was your WTF moment of this show?
Again,
I went with you first because I knew this was happening.
yeah, I mean, so, I'm a jolly guy, right? I was jolly and everything, thinking, yeah, we're going to a Samsung event and whatnot. And we turned up, getting ready to go in. Took ages to get in, and then to cut the story short, people started releasing hands-on videos, hands-on pictures, press releases were out before the presenter even came out to say, I'm announcing the phone. We already knew everything, every single product that was out. We've seen the pictures, we've seen everything. I might as well have stayed at home and turned back. Even the guys over in the States who didn't come to the press launch, they had a better experience than we did. And it's just so that, for me, that was such a horrible experience that I don't know what Samsung did there, but they to be fair to them, they made it up with the fact that when you got hands-on with the actual product itself, it was actually a nice product. I'm talking Galaxy S5 here, so it's actually a nice product. I like the blue one. It feels nice to hold. It actually does feel premium. So again, this is something where the pictures that were released and stuff didn't do it justice. And the first thing you see, and you scan through Twitter, people are going, oh, that looks tacky, that looks horrible, blah, blah, blah. But again, until you get hands-on with it physically, that's when you realize, actually, this feels nice. So that, for me, that was my what the hell moment. Like, what are you doing, Samsung? Come on.
I agreed at that point. I mean, I think me, you, and Nirav were all sat down together, and we got the press release, and it's like, all right, so the orchestra's not finished yet, and we already know everything that's been announced. Not even that, exactly as soon as 8 o'clock hit, the whole, with all the big websites, they had the hands-on earlier that day, which, fair play, and we know what all happens. We know that they get access to the devices early. They posted all their hands-on, and we're like, okay, it's not even been announced. Let alone Samsung give us the press release. All the big websites have got hands-on video, and it's kind of like, okay, so why are we here?
Just as a quick disclaimer, we're not hating on these big sites like Verge or Engadget or whatever. They're doing their job. No, but the thing for us, is the experience where we want to see. We don't want that situation to happen with big product launches like that. You want to watch the show and feel like, wow, so this is what you can do. I can't wait to get hands on now for further experience. But yeah.
I mean, it's not even being at the event. Sorry, I'm just going to jump this part. It's not even about the fact if I wasn't there. If I was at home on a live stream, and this has happened with Samsung in the past, is that you're watching the live stream and you're like, yep, and all of a sudden, before that it gets announced, the press release has been allowed. Now I know that these, you can't. You've got your embargoes. I'm sorry, but give your embargo as to say 5 minutes after it's been announced. Give that as the embargo, not like 8 o'clock and it gets announced at 1:15, because that ruins the experience, not from just me being there, but if I'm online, I'm thinking, why am I going to watch a live stream? I've just watched the whole coverage from these websites such as The Verge, and they do a bloody good job of it. Why would I watch you talk about it when they've already told me everything about it, and probably more than Samsung going to tell you?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that was my WTF moment, really. I don't know if you want to ask the next person what theirs is, because I think we all agree on that point.
Yeah, I think we all agree. We're all a bit annoyed at it. Again, it's nothing to do with regards to the big websites. It was the fact that it's the way it goes down at times that we know about it before Samsung tell us. To be honest, I prefer watching Verge or watching Engadget's hands-on with it than Samsung tell me, because they do probably a better job than what Samsung do. It's just the fact that we know about it before Samsung even get to announce it.
Exactly. I think someone put this really right on Twitter and says it's like me watching a pirate movie online before it gets launched, and everyone else is still getting excited, thinking, yeah, it's coming out in cinema on Friday, but I've already seen it, so what's the point? I'm not going to go to cinema to go see it again.
It's exactly like that. Why would you do that? Anyway, I think we all agree on that part, that it was annoying and it was kind of a shocking moment. So Nirav, what was your kind of moment?
Right. Well, it's kind of similar to that. I just quickly want to say one thing about the Samsung event. Granted, even if the press releases and stuff hadn't come out, Samsung, you cannot ask an orchestra to replay the same bloody thing 6 times on loop just because you're not ready for the same time that you've been promoting this. Come and join us via email, via TV adverts, via absolutely everything at this time, only to start 15 minutes late. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. It's not as if you did it last minute. you knew what time it started, you should have just been ready. And you can't have an orchestra replaying all the time. My thing is rumours and leaks. Now, all right, some people like them, some people don't, but let's be honest, if you're going up to MWC, chances are you will be looking at what's rumoured, what the leaks are, if you haven't got sources, because you're going to be wondering, okay, what am I doing? And dear Lord, normally we're on point, but everyone who leaked anything to do with the Galaxy S5 was so far off the mark. People are just making this stuff up. There is no other physical. Well, there are other possible explanations, but guys, EV leaks and all you other leakers, hang your head in shame because you got it horribly wrong. Not even slightly wrong. You were so far off the mark that whilst we were on a football match, you guys were swinging a baseball bat. But that's it. That's my little what the F moment. When we got to the Samsung event, I was just like, and the press release came out, I was like, there ain't nothing you guys got right. You literally just made all this stuff up.
What about you, Dan?
You want to go to the next one, yeah? Sorry.
This has been a bit of a tricky topic for me because I've got a couple of things that I want to bring into it. So firstly of all, I thought Nokia. Then I thought HTC. You've all got valid points on Samsung. But what's kind of really come to me right now that annoys me is you've got all this money being spent on this huge trade show for everyone to come along, and companies are announcing products a couple of days before the event. That's so frustrating. It's like, so it was Acer showed off the Z4 and the E3, like I think a couple of days before we flew out to here. Why just do it here? You know, we're all coming along. People have flown from, you know, we've all just flown from the UK. That's about a 2-hour flight. But people have flown from America, all around the world, all to attend this conference. And yet you're going to announce all different products. Like, I mean, it was a disappointing thing for me because apart from a couple of things like the Nokia announcement, and you've got like the S5 and the Z2. There wasn't anything major really at this conference that was announced. You know, you could have saved a lot of the big news to be announced, be more of a buzz. And what's happening now is a lot more things are being announced before the show starts, and then it's literally used as a get your hands on time with them when you're there. And it always used to be MWC. I mean, I used to remember a couple of years ago, I'd get a bus to a Samsung to a Sony event. They'd announce 4 new phones. You then go to HTC. They announce 2 new phones. You then go the next day to Nokia. They announce some phones, and there's a big buzz around MWC. Whereas now, more recently, everything's getting announced beforehand, and I don't like that.
I completely agree with that one. It makes it pointless. It makes you think, why even have such a trade show or such a congress of your new devices when you announce it the day before? You know, announce it at the Congress, and that's where I will give credit to people like Sony. They announced it here. I mean, we all knew about it. You know, we knew it was coming, but they officially launched it here. The Nokia phone, they officially launched it here. Again, you know, whether you like it or you don't like it, they used the event as it should be used, not to just go, yeah. And props to Samsung, they used the Congress for what it was used for. It wasn't at the Congress, fair play, but they used it within the time. They announced it on Sunday night. They announced it on the Monday at the Congress. They used the Congress as it should be used for the first time in quite a while. What about your guys' feelings on that one? And Rav, any feeling on that?
Yeah, it's similar to last year, but I'm completely with Dan on this. It takes it away from absolutely everything. Any excitement as a blogger, any excitement you would have had of coming to MWC pretty much goes out the window. If it's not announced and it's rumoured stuff, fine, there's a bit of mystery. But if you announce all your stuff before, it's just like, well, I can just turn up. Oh, I don't need to go to you today. Whereas if you don't know exactly what's been announced and what you don't know exactly what's coming up, you are gonna want to go to the press conference. You're gonna be really excited, and you'll end up showing this either in your articles, in your videos, or even in your tweets.
Yeah, I can see that one. And so we've gone from who else we got with regards to the what they have. Was that yours, Dan? Yeah, that was yours.
Yeah.
Mine, I kind of found it kind of hard, and this is more of a pleasant thing. I've just kind of went on it there, and it's Samsung finally coming back to the Congress and actually announcing the flagship phone, not doing it 2 weeks after or like HTC did, announced 2 weeks before, like last year with the HTC One. They announced it at the Congress, and I'm hoping that Samsung was here, Sony was here, Nokia was here, and they announced the phones here. The smaller companies tried to get head up, but they lost out because we heard about it. Guess what? 2 days later, you were old news. You were old news for the fact you announced it, and then Samsung announced theirs. Announced it with. It's not going to kill you to announce it at the same time. So big props to Samsung and Nokia and Sony for using the Congress as it should be used. Shame on companies like LG announcing the G2 Mini and other devices before the actual Congress. It makes me go, yeah, okay, well done. I'm going to leave you to the last part because there's no excitement anymore. And it's very similar to what Dan said, but this one's more of giving a props to Samsung for saying welcome back to NWC, and hopefully this is for the future. Yeah, we go. Thank you very much. It's to kind of say hopefully next year that every company is going to do the same thing. Have a have announcements at here. Have your use the Congress for what it was designed for, not for what you think it's designed for. So yeah.
By the way, anyone who's watching, we're all on Twitter. I'm at Gadgets Boy. You got at samjpullen. You've got Mobile. Well, his name's on the bottom of his name there. You got Dan and Nirav as well. So if you've got any questions, fire away while we're doing this, so we can always.
You can back them on Twitter, or if you ask them on the YouTube video, if you're watching the video on YouTube now.
On YouTube as well, yeah.
Yeah, I've got some of the questions up there. So if you've got any questions, as Tommy was saying there, then we'll answer them as we get to the end of it. I think we've got one more thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So what was innovative?
There we go. Innovation. So if you want to take this away, Tommy, your topic.
Because I'm a gadget guy. I'm not going to say something mobile. I'll leave that to you mobile guys use hardcore mobile. So for me, what was really gadgety was tether cell. That was pretty cool. Basically, it's a Bluetooth battery, which you can put into whatever device takes them. They're like AAA batteries. And what that allows you to do is connect your Bluetooth device to it and use your phone to switch them off when you need to do so. So for example, if you've got kids and you put into their toys, they might think, yeah, I've got all day to play with this. But no, come say 10 o'clock, I can just use my phone, switch it off, and they've got no access to the device for the rest of the night. So I really like little things like that. I think they're cool gadgets for me. That was cool. That's one of the last places I would ever think someone's going to embed Bluetooth technology to actually make you do something. So
yeah, I remember you coming back and telling me about that one, and I was thinking, damn, if I was a kid and that was me, I would hate that. But if it was me and I'm the parent, or if I'm the person looking after the kid, I'm thinking, see ya. So I like the control, but if it was me as a kid, I'm like, oh my god, they've turned my controller off my PlayStation or something like that. If that was something like a possibility, yeah, you'd want to kill your parents, wouldn't you? Let's be honest. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. All I can say about that one. How about you, Nirav? What was the most innovative thing that you saw at the Congress?
Sorry, my microphone was off. I know you were just about to go there as well, Sam. So
Pretty much.
I don't know. It's props to good old Gadgets Boy for this one, but Panzer Glass. It's only a screen protector. But I shot a video that I did today. I know Tommy's done one. I'm pretty sure you might have done as well, Sam. It's a screen protector that survives of hammering. I mean, a lot of my viewers at least will have watched my Moto G smash test, drop test, scratch test, just about every single durable test we can think of to really try and break that phone, and it's withstood a lot. But the Galaxy S4, chances are, if I'm hammering it with a hammer, it's gonna break quite easily.
There's no chances it will smash.
Whereas with Panzer, earlier today I was going lightly, and their CEO went, "Oh no, I'm not having that," and started hammering it, and I meant like he was trying to put a nail. He was hammering it as if he was trying to put a nail through the screen. Yet Panzer survived. That for me is real innovation. It cost like 20, I think he said 22 euros for a screen protector. I know a lot of you must be going, "Oh, this is way too expensive and stuff." But hey, if I'm going to spend 22 euros on something, that's going to then prevent my phone from smashing. It's the best 20 to spend, and that's Panzer.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I saw Tommy's was it the Instagram on that one? I didn't actually get around to them. I mean, I've got similar products done that one, so but honestly, it probably won't impress me because I've got products that I've done that a year or two ago. So it's nothing to me. That's nothing new. That's personally, but yeah. Dan, do you want to go ahead? Sorry for kind of killing your innovation there, Narab, but you know.
It's a lack of innovation. That's the whole point. There wasn't any real innovation at MWC.
Go ahead, Dan.
I just want to very quickly point out to anyone watching the show, because we know there are people because they're tweeting us questions. I'm not in prison or anything. This is my phone bed. It does look like I'm in a prison cell. I haven't been arrested. I am still in the apartment, so don't worry. You don't think you get Wi-Fi in prison. So anyway, what was I? Yeah, what was the most innovating thing? Well, Wi-Fi in prison. No, the thing for me was the 4K video. We've seen it on the Note 3, but I never really had much time to kind of see it much. And then when you come to here and you see these massive screens, and you think, well, things like Sky TV don't display in that at the moment. So you think, what kind of content are you going to have if you buy one of these big TVs? And seeing a phone kind of that small, okay, 5-inch on a phone is not small, but compared to that massive TV, and you're seeing this footage, crystal clear, all the detail, it just looks absolutely stunning. And that's on a phone. I mean, I covered this MWC with a couple of phones. I used my yellow 1020. That didn't work out in some ways for me. I used the Nexus 5, which thank you to Sam for that one. Yeah, I needed my Android fix. And I used an iPhone 5S, which was thanks to EE, who lent me that to take with me here. And they were really nice, and there was me covering a show on my phone. So the cameras are getting really good, but the video is obviously getting better as well. The audio is getting better, the video quality is getting better. And you've got to start wondering, do we really need a lot of these cameras now for a lot of people? They can use, I would be more than happy to use now. This is a bit of a specialized area because you're kind of, the lighting's a bit funny and you're trying to get like these professional shots, so it's a bit of a tricky area. But for general use for a camera and for video now, I would be quite happy to just use a phone. And obviously 4K TVs are becoming a next quite big thing, and to be able to display something in that much detail on like a 60-inch screen that you've recorded on your phone is just incredible. And just the detail, the quality on it. Now, the Sony stand particularly, so that's why I saw it. And the footage I saw from Sony, I can't believe it was recorded on a phone. That was really, really good. I like that.
Can I just quickly mention something? Sorry, Sam. One thing that just came to my mind that I actually think was cool that I saw that was quite a common theme was that backwards charging stuff. I think, yeah, reversible charging, whatever they call it. I think that's actually quite innovative because in terms of being able to charge my smartphone as well as my tablet, well, other things at the same time, use my tablet and use it to charge my phone if it's running flat. I think that's pretty cool. What do you guys think?
I'm all up for it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've got tablets that can do it. I love the Huawei new modem because that's your portable Wi-Fi modem. Fine, it's only a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, but hey, 3,000 milliamp hour battery could be the difference if you no longer need it on the way home, but your battery's dead on your phone. At least you're able to charge it.
Yeah.
And that's the reversible charging is really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, going on to the Dan's point with regards to the 4K, that's one of my, I like the idea of 4K, mainly for the fact that, and it's not even the fact that you can have 4K video, it's about taking your image, but then you can say, right, I want this part of the image, and you've still got 1080p to go at. So you can zoom in on the video with no loss of quality because you've got the 4K full resolution, and you're not losing any quality by going down to it.
It's kind of what Nokia did with this, with a camera on that, like they did with the 41 meg.
Exactly.
You can take a picture full size and then take a picture from the picture. That was really, really good. And now you can do it on video, and that's you can zoom in without loss of quality.
That's exactly where 4K video is, and it's exactly the same kind of thing. I didn't even think of it until you said that there. But yeah, it is doing the exact same thing as that. Is that you're using your 4K footage, and let's be honest, 1080p TVs are going nowhere 4K is the future, but I don't think I'll own a 4K TV for maybe 2 years. I don't know. I mean, it depends how if they come down in price. But what I can do is take 4K footage, and because I upload on YouTube maybe 720 or 1080p, I can edit within that image and go, wow, I'm not losing any quality at all. And to me, that's like Dan, that kind of was one of the biggest things for me here. The one I'm more looking forward to is seeing what the LG footage looks like, for the fact that they've got optical image stabilization with the 4K, and I think they're the only company to have that. So I think optical, you need some kind of stabilization when you've got so many pixels, because the Note 3, as good as it is, if you shake a little bit, because you've got so much to go at, it's a shake fest. So I'm looking forward to testing the G Pro 2 to see how that looks with the iOS and the iOS on an LG phone. Oh. So what we'll do is we can ask him. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I can completely agree with you. Although it's obviously a staged demo at the LG booth, they had that OIS demo, which they also had at IFA last year. Yeah, and when you go into 4K, LG OIS Plus, it already does good video. I like the video on my G2, which has got OIS Plus. So when you're now taking it to 4K, it's really going to probably be the smoothest 4K video you will get at the moment. Is on the G2.
I'm hoping so. I mean, that's something I'm really hoping so. Right, what we're going to do now is, do you guys if anyone on Twitter is asking you questions, if you guys have got any questions and you want us to answer the questions right here and now, is there anybody, you guys got any questions on Twitter that you want to answer? If you do, can just use this time now.
Not at the moment. No questions here.
Nope. Anyone else got any questions that they've been asked? I mean, it looks like there's been more of an argument than questions in the in the comments. Oops. Yeah, it looks like they've been having a good old fight, but. Oh.
To answer Parab's question, what CEO tried to smash the phone? It was the Panzer CEO, because I was at the stand. Nice.
And what phone was it?
It was a Galaxy S4 with the Panzer screen protector on it. And I will be honest, he said, the guy who was demoing it to me said to me, do it lightly and make sure you do it with the bottom, like not the pointed edge, but the other edge, and do it flat, don't do it with the corner. And the CEO came over and went, well, what are you doing? This isn't how you demo it. Took the hammer and just went, sorry, this is how you do it, and just started going smash, 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 like crazy levels.
One thing that we probably forgot to mention about Panzer Glass is the fact, the health and safety side of it as well. If you dropped your normal phone and it smashes, the little bits that falls out, they're quite sharp and dangerous. But one thing that the glass screen protector does is, if you drop that and it smashes, it's gonna kind of stick together. Or if it falls out, it's not so sharp, so there's less chance of you cutting your hands from it and things like that. That's another thing, reason why it's actually a good product.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing was with me, I mean, not to kind of bash there, but I didn't see it, so I can't really say. But I've used products like that for quite a few years now. Can
I just say, the only reason Sam is bashing this product right now, well, not bashing it.
I'm not bashing it. I didn't actually get to see it.
Yeah. The reason why it's been like this is because he had one on his phone. He tried to put a lens kit on his screen protector, and he cracked it. So that's probably why.
No, that wasn't from Panzer. That was a Spigen Glass TR,
right.
Which is exactly the same kind of product. It's a glass screen protector. It sticks on. If you drop it, it can take a bit of a hammering. I mean, there's one from a company called Amazon, which is a company that I've dealt with quite a few times in the past. That's actually bulletproof. So yeah, it's actually got bulletproof kind of materials in it. So I mean, the innovation that I don't get me wrong, I like that. I think that kind of product's awesome. It's just it's nothing new that I've not seen.
It's nothing new. It's not new to the market.
Exactly. If it's better than the rest, then awesome. Again, I didn't see it, so if anyone from Panzer does watch the video, yeah, if you want to send me one to actually review, then I'll review one for you. But
tell you what we forgot to mention, Sam. A product that we I think myself, Nirav, and Sam saw. I'm not sure if Dan saw it. Was Omate.
Oh, that awesome watch.
The true smartwatch.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Just to quickly give a brief of what it is. So this is one of the literally true smartwatch on the market these days. So one, it's compatible with Android devices, compatible with iOS devices as well, which is shocking. It runs Android KitKat, so it's like obviously a slim version, light version, but it's still KitKat. So it's proper smooth and fluid as well when you're moving around and things like that. You can install any apps on there. They've also got their own app store for their own dedicated developer apps that they've put on there.
What game was he playing on it?
He was playing Flappy Birds on it, which I said to him, so does that make it worth a lot more on eBay? He says, well, actually, because we're shipping them out late, there's a guy who sold one recently on eBay for about $800, and that's not how much they're selling there for, the actual thing for. And I says, well, it might be worth more now with Flappy Birds on it. and the last thing as well that makes it true smartwatch is it can have his own SIM card in there, so you can have 2G or 3G SIM card in there, which means you can use it as a standalone actual phone smartwatch kind of thing. So it's not just all about an extension of notification center on my wrist. Is a true smartwatch. It can run standalone by itself, which is a massive step for me towards smartwatches. And
I think the way that he said it is that it's not a slave device. It's not a dumb watch. Once it's disconnected, it's no longer dumb. It is still a smartwatch. Whereas as cool as the Galaxy Gear is and as cool as like the Pebble is, once it's not connected to a device, it's
useless.
A watch. It's just a watch. It's classed as a dumb device again. It does one function. I mean, the Galaxy Gear, granted, you can still take pictures, but you can't really do much else with it. It's dumb.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I think that's one thing we forgot to mention, which is one of the, for me, it's a good highlight for the show, because when you spoke to the guy that made it, well, part of the guy in charge, he was really he was really passionate about the product itself. He explained a whole lot about the product itself, and those guys went in for $100,000 on Kickstarter, and they received just over $1 million, and they smashed their goal within 12 hours of putting it online. I think Dan's just been taken out of his prison cell for a quick break, as you can see there.
Communal visit.
Yeah, communal visit.
Shut up. But no, I agree. I mean, in terms of innovation, I didn't really give a certain innovation as such. I could probably even chuck that watch in there. I mean, I saw it quickly at PepCon, and then and I was like, because you found it, and then I followed you over, and I'm like, actually, it's a bloody good idea, is this one? So I mean, if you want to go watch the video on that, I've got a video on my channel. Tommy's got one on his channel as well. I'll put links in the description if you want to go check those videos out.
Excellent. Have we got any questions on the YouTube stuff?
It seems like people are still fighting on there, so...
What are they actually arguing? What's the argument on? Maybe we can shed some light on it.
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest with you. People are calling mums and dads and stuff like that, and I don't really want to get into that kind of stuff, so yeah.
Well, we didn't see mums and dads at Mobile World Congress, sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't many parents.
Most of the comments really aren't worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Most of the comments aren't worth talking about. Although, DRich290195 asked a question on YouTube regarding the Nokia X. I can't find that question.
Because there's so many people that have started commenting and arguing and stuff like that. It's kind of just ruined the kind of comment section. So what we'll do for future live shows is we'll see if we can get the question. I think on Google Hangouts you can have like a question thing. I'll work out how we can fully use that. This is completely different than I've used Google Hangouts. It's changed again. So I'll figure that out, and yeah, we'll get it working properly. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask the guys who have watched this video. So if you're watching live, then thank you very much. Please hit the like button if you are watching it. If you're watching it on a delay and you're watching it later on, then leave us a comment down below if you want us to do this maybe in a weekly or bi-weekly kind of gig. Do you like this kind of chemistry that we've got here? Do you like me talking more than anybody else and being the the Master of Ceremony or something like that, I think it is?
Master of Ceremonies.
That's the one, yeah. So, let us know.
Master of Ceremonies, Sam.
That's the one. So if you like this kind of concept and you want us to do more of this, then let us know down in the comments down below, or tweet us. Again, my tweet is here. There's Facebook, Google+, all of them is all samjpullen. If you want to give your to where you can find you guys, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, whatever it might be. So let's go Tommy rather than then go to Dan.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere. Gadgets boy. So that with an S.
I'm everywhere.
Instagram. Well, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram, but elsewhere I'm there as well. If it's there, it's there. Otherwise, mainly Twitter and Instagram.
Cool. I'll put links down below for everyone that's here. But if you just want to again, Nirav, where can they find you? From people watching actually want to follow you, where can they find you?
You cheeky, yeah. The rest of it should be beeped out, but we're live, so I won't go there. I'm at Nirav on Twitter, on Facebook it's Nirav.Gondia, and yeah, YouTube. Just search either Nirav or UK Mobile Review. Odds are you'll find one of the two. I can draw both, so yeah, give me a shout. And just check out all the links when Sam eventually puts them in the description.
Cool. And Dan, where can we find the Mr. Mobile Man?
I'm at coolsmartphone.com and at mobilemandan.
You can also find him in a prison cell in Barcelona.
With no communal visits. Let me get that straight.
We have the video proof that he has communal visits.
I'm going to edit that. and as everyone knows... Oh, so go ahead.
Sorry, Fabio asked the question, but he was flagged on YouTube. He says, what phones, if any, would you consider as replacements for your current phones?
Oh, there we are. So I got the one on Twitter as well. So what would you consider as replacements for? Ooh. The only one I could see, I mean, currently, my main phone here at the Congress is actually being the LG G2. No, it's been the HTC One. It was in the G2, but yeah, I couldn't get the data to work properly over here, but the HTC One worked perfect, whereas the iPhone sucked. So, I mean, my main phone in the UK is the G2, and the only one that's got announced here, well, to be fair, I could probably say two of them. I know the Samsung one wasn't as exciting as what a lot of people wanted it to be. I could probably see that replacing my current phone because I still like the device. But probably the Z2, in all honesty, that's probably the phone that could take one of my pockets.
For me, I'd say there are two devices that I saw that I'll probably take, not replace my current devices, but take in addition. Probably the Huawei MediaPad, the X1 7-inch tablet/phone, phablet, whatever you want to call it, or the Xperia Z2.
Yeah, the reason why the X1 wouldn't replace the device because I don't actually currently own a tablet, but that will be on my list of things. I think that will actually be my tablet because I don't want a massive tablet, but 7 inches is just about the right kind of size. Don't you dare say it's Dan. I know you're thinking it, Dan, so don't even think of saying it.
Yes.
Right, Rob, what about you?
And in honour of Clinton and Jeff, that's what she said. All of them. I want every single phone. No, well, yeah. I would love every single phone, but I can see the G Pro 2 possibly replacing my Galaxy Note 3, just because the G Pro 2, even with LG's UI, has got to be more stable than the Galaxy Note 3 with 31 gigabytes of TouchWiz rubbish on top. And other than that, Xperia Z2, MediaPad X1, both of those pretty much I'm definitely going to get because they're both the MediaPad X1 on.
I know Dan's option's going to be the Nokia X.
Oh yeah, Dan's already ordered one. He's already pre-ordered one. He's getting the XL.
He offered them 5 times retail at the stand to buy one there, and then
he's ordered an XL. He really wants an XL, does Dan? He'll just find
Like
big things.
I'm going to love using Google Maps. No, maybe not.
Right, Dan, what about you? I can pretty much say it for you, but we all know what you're going to say. But you go ahead and say it.
Alcatel One Touch Idol 2.
I knew it!
No,
I absolutely knew it.
no. I did like the S5, but it's the Z2 for me wins it.
Yep. I think we're all in agreement. The Z2 is probably the star of the show. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the S5's it's a cool device. There's a lot of things in there that I may not use, and I think Tommy's just disappeared. And he's back again. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we may not use, like the heart rate monitor, because I don't want to know how unfit if I'm going to die. I'd rather not know that. I'd rather just peacefully go. But no, I think the S5 is going to be a stellar device. It's going to be a device I like because I like my Samsung phones. Everyone knows this. I like my HTC phones. I've not liked my Sony phones. Maybe I will. But yeah, the Z2 seems like it's been the star of the show.
Another question here. It says the Nokia X hardware. How does it feel? Does it feel very cheap, like its price tag?
Do you want to answer that one or?
For me, I have to be totally honest. It does feel cheap. The only one that felt slightly on the premium side would be the XL.
Yeah, I mean, now let me ask this question to you. If you considered it's the same price as a Samsung Galaxy Fame, does it still feel cheap?
No.
No.
And I think that's what I said. I was asking the Nokia guys, and they're saying when you put a phone in terms of the same price, does this feel cheap? And when you think that right, Galaxy Fame's going to be roughly the same price, give or take, about £100, as maybe the X, the X Plus, and the XL, they're all going to be around the roughly the same-ish kind of price, maybe 20 quid here or there. Does it feel better than something like a Fame or a Galaxy Ace or an Ace 2, 3, or whatever it might be? It feels much better than those ones. It's not a premium device, but if you felt a 520, it probably feels just. I think it's a bit better build quality than 520, and I think 520 is not bad.
It feels like a solid phone with solid hardware, good build quality.
Yeah, it's
And
more
nice
premium
design.
than the price says. It doesn't feel like a Lumia 1020 or a Lumia 920 or 925. It's not that kind of build, but it's better than what the price should dictate for it. Let's say. So that's the way I personally think of it. Anyway, it doesn't feel cheap to me, but it doesn't feel premium. That's how I probably sell
Yeah.
it. Cool. I think that's pretty much it.
There's one
Is
here.
it? Go ahead.
Should I answer this
Yeah,
last
go
one?
ahead.
It says, what do you guys have any expectations for the next Lumia flagship device?
No comment.
I think expectations.
Yes.
Maybe make it waterproof. It's got an excellent camera, so why not add that extra?
Things though, what camera are you looking for? Because personally, what I want a 5-inch Nokia device with a 1080p display. I don't want Windows Phone. I won't bear no grudges against it. I won't say nothing against it. I'm not a massive fan of Windows Phone. Hopefully 8.1 is going to fix the errors. I'm hoping it's going to fix the errors. But what I would like out of the Nokia phone is the 1020 camera, but with a fast processor. Because as fast as it is, it's still not super fast. It does take a couple of seconds for the image to process. Whereas if you had a Snapdragon 800 or with 3 gigabytes of RAM, that thing would fly with a 1080p display as well. And a bigger battery. But I want it a bit smaller. I can't win. They can't win. But no, the expectations, it's probably going to be the Icon, but 930. In all
My
honesty.
expectations are, 82 megapixel camera, Snapdragon 900 processor, 4.927-inch display, 4K resolution.
That's not an expectation. That's a dream.
But no, seriously, we've all seen the leaks. Odds are next top-end Lumia is going to be the 930, which is essentially the 1520 in a 4.5-inch display. If it comes out like that with a 20 meg camera and all of that, I'm buying it. I'm happy. Happy days completely.
Yeah, I think it's just the Icon in it, effectively. It's just the Icon, but for Europe, very similar to that.
Oh, and I forgot to mention full Android.
Just to add,
you,
I'm
Dan?
just looking at a Twitter from Stu at Pocket now. He said that they also got hands-on as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends who you are at the time, I suppose. I mean, again, I went down, I asked about it today, and on the last day of the Congress, and nobody seemed interested even to speak to people. So, and that just wasn't me. People around the booth, they didn't feel like they wanted to be there, and that's the gist I got from it. And it just seems to be, I don't know. Yeah, let's not go into another bashing.
We can agree to disagree. We can all agree that it didn't go down as smoothly as it could have done, and we can leave it at that.
Yeah, pretty much. Right, do you reckon that's it? Shall we wrap this up for tonight? I think we've gone on for longer than we expected, in all honesty. I think we were expecting about 35 to 45 minutes, and I don't know how we're going to be going for. I can't see.
Well, Dan doesn't get that long for visitations.
Yeah, so we've got to make sure.
Yeah, Dan, the bell's calling just for you.
But right, we've already done our outro. We've already said where we can find us. Again, if you want to find any of us, then in the comments down below, I will link to everybody. If you've got any questions, you can ask us all, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it might be. Again, just look down below. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. And yeah, you'll see us in our next video. Can't believe speak. Cheers, everyone.